A second passport gives you powers like travel rights, banking freedom, and tax perks when the establishment wants to take them away. For the first time, average Americans like you and I have access to this elite world reserved for billionaires, diplomats, and James Bond. In this video, you'll learn the 6 smartest, fastest paths to a second passport through descent, investment, marriage, residency, and even a path almost no one knows exists, starting with the one method most Americans qualify for but almost never use. Let's start with the easiest second passport you'll never hear about at your local DMV. The one you might already be entitled to. It's called citizenship by descent. If your parents, grandparents, or great-grandparents were born in the right country, you might qualify. It's one of the fastest, cheapest, and most powerful ways to unlock dual citizenship, and most Americans never check. Here's the thing, you were taught citizenship comes from where you're born or where you live, not from someone who sailed over on a ship 100 years ago. But countries like Italy, Ireland, Poland, Hungary, and Greece still honor those bloodlines. And in some cases, it doesn't matter how many generations back it goes, as long as you can prove it. If you qualify, you're looking at visa-free travel to 180 or more countries, the right to live, work, study, and retire in Europe, full access to healthcare, education, and even lower taxes. Take Ireland, where you only need one grandparent born on the island to get started. The real gatekeeper isn't money or merit, it's just documents, birth certificates, marriage records, maybe a ship manifest. A little detective work and some patience with Irish bureaucracy can change your entire life. If you're wondering whether you qualify, this is our life's work, and we can walk you through the exact rules by country. One meeting with us could save you weeks of aimless Googling. But let's say you don't have any traceable ancestry from Europe. Don't worry, I'm in the same boat, and I'm working on my second and third citizenships as we speak. The next method doesn't care who your grandparents were. It only cares where you or your current or future children were born. Now let's talk about something called birthright citizenship. This is how most Americans get their citizenship. But here's what most people don't realize. This is not the global norm. In fact, fewer than 40 countries in the world still offer unconditional birthright citizenship, and most of them are in the Americas. That means if you have or are planning to have children, where they're born really matters. Have a child in Mexico, Brazil, Argentina, Panama, or even Jamaica, and boom, they get automatic citizenship. In many of these countries, that child can then sponsor you for permanent residency or even citizenship down the road. Yes, you heard that right. In some places, your baby is your immigration lawyer. Now, I'm not suggesting you plan your next pregnancy around a residency or citizenship strategy, unless you're into that sort of thing. But this is a real strategic path that thousands of expat families use, especially if they live abroad, want to diversify their family's citizenships, or just prefer to give their kids more options than a single passport can offer. We've worked with dozens of families in places like Panama, Mexico, or Brazil to map out legal and ethical paths to multi-generational citizenship. Now, if you weren't born in the right place, or your wife, yes, 94% of you watching this are male, doesn't want to travel during the pregnancy, the next path is one of the most overlooked, and it's shockingly flexible. You don't need ancestry, money, or even to live there full time. So you weren't born in the right place, and you're not currently raising a tiny dual citizen in Panama. No problem, because citizenship by naturalization is wide open. This is not about ancestry, it's not about where you were born, it's just about time. If you live in a country long enough, play by the rules, and maybe learn a bit of the language, you can earn your second passport through residency. Some countries offer citizenship in as little as 2 to 5 years. Places like Argentina, Portugal, Mexico, or Brazil all have particularly short naturalization timelines. Some even let you leave the country for part of the year and still continue your time towards citizenship. Like in Portugal, you must only spend 7 days in the country per year over 5 years on the golden visa to qualify for one of the world's strongest passports. And then there's the preferred nationality factor. A few countries quietly fast-track individuals from certain countries with faster residency approvals and lower documentation requirements. For example, if you have Mexican citizenship, you can qualify for Spanish citizenship in just 2 years of residency. We Americans, it takes 10 years of residency to be eligible. That's an 80% reduction in time. Of course, naturalization comes with paperwork, time, and sometimes a language test or investment. It's not instant, but it's doable, especially if you're already considering life abroad, even part-time. Many of these countries are cheap, safe, and warm. So while you're earning that passport, you may also spend less and live better. Kill two birds or maybe a few more with one stone. If you want help choosing the best country for your lifestyle, goals, and timeline, we built a 162-page guide to life abroad, including a country-by-country breakdown, residency paths in each country, and the tax burden there. You can grab it for free. I can't believe this is free on our website. Now, if the idea of waiting several years sounds like a slow death to you, the next path might be more your speed. Let's say you have the bankroll. Citizenship by investment, or CBI, is exactly what it sounds like. Donate enough to a country or invest enough in a foreign economy, and you get a passport. That's it. And yes, this is 100% legal. These are official government-backed programs, not shady, we'll send you a passport in the mail kind of deals. There are fewer than 20 countries that offer true immediate citizenship by investment. Think St. Kitts and Nevis, Antigua and Barbuda, Dominica, Grenada, St. Lucia, El Salvador in Latin America, Turkey, Egypt, and Jordan in the Middle East, and a few others. Each has slightly different rules, but here's the general idea. You donate somewhere between $100,000 and $1 million to a national development fund, or invest in local real estate or investment fund, and you get a passport. If a passport were a product, citizenship by investment would be the premium one-click checkout option. These passports can unlock travel freedom to over 150 countries, some including the EU, UK, and parts of Asia. They can also open up new banking options, investment opportunities, and provide a legal escape hatch if things at home ever go sideways. For entrepreneurs, investors, and global citizens who want speed, simplicity, or a backup plan, it's one of the most efficient options out there. Citizenship by investment is best used as part of a larger international diversification and tax strategy. The Freedom Files helps people like you run the numbers and compare jurisdictions. Our clients are consistently surprised by how much is possible once you know where to look. But let's say you're not ready to write a six-figure check just yet. There's another more romantic path to a second passport. Citizenship by marriage is a real, legal, and surprisingly common path to dual citizenship. It exists in most countries, and it doesn't always require living there full-time or being married for decades to qualify. The general idea is if you legally marry a citizen of a country that offers spousal naturalization, you can apply for residency immediately and citizenship shortly thereafter. Sometimes it's 2 years in the case of Mexico, sometimes it's 1, like in Spain. Italy offers citizenship after 2 years of marriage with an Italian citizen if you live in Italy, or 3 years if you live abroad. Now, before you propose to a Portuguese bartender you just met, let's clear something up. This is not a loophole. You'll need to prove the marriage is real, provide documentation, and in some cases sit through interviews or basic language tests. But compared to many other paths, it's still relatively fast, affordable, and rewarding, assuming you like the person you're marrying. If you're already in a cross-cultural relationship, you may be closer than you think. A lot of couples don't realize how many benefits and legal shortcuts they can unlock once the paperwork is filed. But let's say international love isn't on your roadmap right now. You're not looking to marry into a passport. You're just hoping someone finally recognizes how awesome you already are. Luckily, some countries will do just that. You've heard of citizenship by blood, by birth, by marriage, and by investment. But what if a country just looked at your resume and said, "You seem cool, welcome aboard"? Citizenship by exception is rare, but it is real. If a government decides you are valuable enough to their national interest that they're willing to skip the usual process, they can grant you citizenship for free. This path is typically reserved for world-class athletes, philanthropists, founders of major companies, high net worth investors, cultural contributors, or sometimes people with serious connections. Tom Hanks is a citizen of Greece. Peter Thiel of New Zealand, the co-founder of Facebook in Singapore, and Steven Seagal of the Russian Federation. Seriously, we're talking citizenships issued by presidential decree, royal order, or special contributions to the nation. These cases are few and far between and typically not advertised. But if you're doing meaningful work in the world and building international relationships, you should know that these doors exist. Now, could you bank on this route working for you? No, but could it be a surprise perk on your international journey? Absolutely. For most people, it's best to build your second passport plan around what you can control, not what you hope someone hands you. Passports are power. The power to leave, the power to stay, the power to choose when others cannot. You now know 6 legal ways to accumulate that power. Some are fast, some are free, some are surprisingly simple, but all of them work. And when the world feels more volatile and uneasy than ever, having a second passport is about options, and those who have options, they rarely regret them. If you want help choosing the right path, this is exactly what we do. Book a call with us or grab our free guide, both are linked below. And if you're serious about living better for less, don't stop here. Check out our next video on the top 5 low-tax countries begging you to retire there. We're excited to see where your second passport could actually take you. If you're ready to stop overpaying and start living, hit subscribe. You're just